I left my music career, my passion, and my freedom just to build a future for her. But she kissed another man at a party and called it just a game, like my love was something to laugh at. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? My name is Evan Carter, and I am 32 years old. This story isn't about jealousy. It's about what happens when someone mistakes your loyalty for weakness. I used to think love could survive anything. When I met Natalie, everything felt effortless. She laughed at my jokes, loved my music, and said I made her feel alive. I was a small-town musician with big dreams, but when she got a job offer in another city, I followed her without hesitation. I left behind my band, my friends, and my comfort zone. "We'll build a life together," she said, holding my hand tightly. And I believed her. We rented a small apartment downtown. She worked at a marketing firm, and I picked up small gigs at local bars. Every night, I cooked dinner while she complained about work, and every morning, she kissed me like I was the best part of her day. At least, that's what I thought. Our love was passionate, fiery, sometimes too intense. But passion can blind you. I didn't notice the late-night texts, the sudden wardrobe changes, or the growing distance between her laughter and my name. I just thought she was tired, stressed maybe. I trusted her completely. Then one night, she invited me to her coworker's birthday party. It was loud, filled with people I barely knew, and Natalie was in her element, charming, glowing, alive in a way I hadn't seen in months. I stood beside her, drink in hand, watching her laugh with everyone. When the group started playing Truth or Dare, I didn't think much of it. It was just a game, right? But when it was her turn and someone dared her to kiss the man sitting next to her, she hesitated, just for a second, then leaned in. Their lips met. Everyone cheered, and my world stopped. She turned to me, smiling nervously. "It's just a game, Evan," she said. But something inside me broke, because love isn't a game. And I realized, in that moment, I wasn't part of her fun anymore. I was part of her joke. The room roared with laughter, but all I could hear was silence. My heart pounded in my ears, as if it was trying to drown out what I'd just seen. Natalie looked at me like nothing had happened, her eyes wide and sparkling under the cheap disco lights. Everyone cheered, the music blared again, and somehow, I was the only one standing still in a room full of motion. I forced a smile, pretended it didn't matter, pretended it didn't burn. She walked over and grabbed my hand playfully. "Hey," she said, laughing, "don't look at me like that. It's just a game, babe." I looked into her eyes and tried to find remorse. There was none, only arrogance, the kind that comes when someone's too sure they'll be forgiven. She went back to her friends, leaving me standing by the wall, my drink untouched. I watched her dance, laugh, lean too close to the same guy. Every time their eyes met, my chest tightened. It wasn't the kiss itself that hurt. It was how natural it looked, how easy it came to her. That's when I realized something terrifying. Maybe it wasn't the first time. Later, as the night dragged on, I stepped outside for air. The cold wind hit my face, but it didn't cool the fire inside me. I stared up at the city skyline and wondered how everything could change in just 1 second. The woman I gave up my dream for had just made me a punchline. She came out minutes later, tipsy and glowing. "Are you mad?" she teased, looping her arm through mine. "Come on, don't be dramatic." I didn't answer. I just looked at her. This stranger wearing the face of the woman I loved. "Do you even understand what that meant to me?" I asked quietly. She rolled her eyes. "You're overthinking it." Everyone was laughing. It was harmless fun. That line, harmless fun, would echo in my head for days. On the drive home, she sang along to the radio like nothing happened. I kept my eyes on the road, hands gripping the wheel. My mind kept replaying the image, her lips touching his, her friends clapping, her laughter slicing through the noise like a knife. When we got home, she kissed me on the cheek and went straight to bed. I sat in the dark living room, staring at the wall, realizing the truth. The woman I loved didn't respect me. Maybe she never did. That night, something inside me began to shift. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just went quiet, because the loudest revenge always starts in silence. The morning after the party, Natalie acted like nothing had happened. She brewed coffee, hummed to herself, and scrolled through her phone as if the night before had been just another memory. I sat across from her, barely touching my cup, trying to make sense of how easily she could smile. When I finally asked her about it, she sighed. "Evan, please," she said, sounding annoyed instead of sorry. "It was just a stupid dare. You're blowing it out of proportion." She said it with such confidence that, for a second, I almost believed her. But deep down, something had cracked, not from anger, but disbelief. The distance started there, small at first, then it grew like a shadow that followed us everywhere. She began staying late at work more often, blaming tight deadlines and new projects. When I called her, she'd answer with a distracted tone or claimed she was too tired to talk. The laughter that once filled our home faded into short, cold exchanges. One evening, I made dinner, her favorite. She came home 2 hours late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. "Rough day?" I asked quietly. She nodded, avoiding my eyes. "Yeah, meetings ran long." Her voice was calm, rehearsed, too smooth to be real. I noticed her phone lighting up with messages she didn't check. When I asked who it was, she frowned. "Co-workers," she said sharply. "You need to stop being paranoid." Paranoid. That word stung. Because I remembered when she used to tell me everything, even small things that didn't matter. Now, I didn't even know where she spent her nights. I tried to focus on my music again, to distract myself, but even the guitar strings sounded hollow. Every song I wrote came out sad, bitter, empty. I couldn't concentrate when my heart felt like it was constantly waiting for the next lie. I tried once more to reach her. "Natalie," I said, "if something's wrong, just tell me. We can fix it." She looked at me with a tired expression, one I didn't recognize. "Not everything needs fixing, Evan," she said. "Sometimes people just need space." Space. That was the word she used to build her new world, one that didn't include me. Nights grew longer. Dinners turned silent. Her phone buzzed more. Her eyes met mine less. I wasn't angry anymore. I was numb. Because the worst part of betrayal isn't the act itself. It's watching the person you love slowly stop caring that you're hurting. I knew something was coming. I didn't know when or how, but I could feel it. The game she called harmless was still being played. Only this time, I wasn't the one losing anymore. I was just waiting for my turn. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed you like this? Comment below. It happened on a quiet Tuesday night. The kind of night when everything feels routine. Natalie had gone to bed early, claiming she had an early meeting. I stayed in the living room, scrolling through my laptop, trying to finish a few lyrics I'd been working on. That's when her tablet, left on the couch, lit up with a notification. At first, I didn't care. I trusted her enough not to pry. But then another message appeared, a preview that made my stomach tighten. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." My heart dropped. I stared at the screen, frozen. The message wasn't from a female friend or co-worker. It was from him, the same guy she'd kissed at that party. I tapped the screen, hands trembling. Message after message appeared. Flirty texts, late-night calls, even photos from hotel bars. She had saved his contact under a fake company name. My chest felt heavy as I scrolled through the proof. Every lie, every excuse, every fake deadline. I didn't realize how quiet the room had become. My own heartbeat was the only sound. That's when I saw it, a message from earlier that day. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. He still thinks it's just work." I closed my eyes, the words cutting deeper than any argument ever could. I wanted to wake her, to scream, to demand an explanation. But what would be the point? She'd just lie again. I looked toward the bedroom door, the same door where we'd once laughed, dreamed, planned a future. Now, it just felt like a barrier between truth and denial. I copied the messages to my phone, taking screenshots of everything. Not for revenge, not yet. I needed to see the whole picture before I made my move. The more I read, the clearer it became. Their harmless game had never ended. It had turned into something real, something deliberate. The next morning, she kissed me goodbye like nothing was wrong. Her perfume lingered as the door closed, and I stood there, holding my phone, staring at the evidence. The woman who once told me love meant loyalty was sneaking around with the man she said meant nothing. I spent that day in silence, staring at my reflection, realizing how blind love had made me. The version of me who believed in her didn't exist anymore. Something colder was forming in his place, calm, patient, and dangerously clear-headed. That night, when she came home, I smiled. I asked about her day. She laughed, unaware that I now knew every lie hiding behind that smile. I didn't confront her, not yet. Because when someone plays a game with your heart, the smartest move isn't to quit. It's to learn the rules and play better than they ever could. The morning after discovering the truth, I woke up different, not broken, not angry, just quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm. Natalie hummed in the kitchen like nothing had happened. She poured coffee, kissed my cheek, and smiled. I smiled back. My first lie in a long time. If she could play games, so could I. Only difference was, I'd play better. I decided not to confront her yet. People like her feed on drama, on emotion. They expect shouting, accusations, tears. I gave her none of that. Instead, I watched, I studied, and I waited. Every night, she'd grab her phone and whisper in the bathroom. I started noting the times, the pattern. even the excuses. Once, she claimed she was going for a late grocery run. She came back smelling like cologne, not mine. I hugged her, smiled, and said nothing. That silence scared her more than anger ever could. While she kept pretending, I started building my second life. I poured my pain into my music, writing lyrics that bled honesty, songs about deceit, manipulation, and the masks lovers wear. Each verse was a dagger wrapped in melody, each chorus a quiet confession she'd never understand. One evening, she came to one of my gigs, the first in months. As I sang, she swayed to the rhythm, clueless that every word was about her. After the show, she said, "That song was beautiful. Who's it about?" I smiled, my voice steady. "Just someone who taught me what love really isn't." She laughed, thinking I was joking, but I wasn't. The mask I wore became my protection. At home, I played the role of the loving boyfriend perfectly. I cooked dinner, left her notes, kissed her forehead every morning. She thought I was forgiving her in silence. But forgiveness wasn't part of the plan. Exposure was. Late one night, when she finally fell asleep, I finished a new song. It wasn't just about her this time. It was for her. A story set to music. One that mirrored our relationship perfectly. It was called "The Game You Taught Me." I stared at the lyrics when I was done. Every line was a truth she'd soon hear, not privately, but publicly. Because the one thing more painful than betrayal is being forced to face it under a spotlight. She once said the kiss was just a game. So I decided to play mine on a stage, in front of everyone she knew. And I was going to win. The invitation came through an old friend, a charity concert downtown, a chance to perform for a big crowd. It was the break I'd been waiting for. Natalie was thrilled. "You deserve this," she said, her voice full of pride I didn't believe anymore. She even offered to help organize the event through her company's sponsorship. The irony almost made me laugh. I spent the next few weeks preparing, rehearsing every lyric until my fingers bled. The song I'd written, "The Game You Taught Me," wasn't just music. It was a confession, a story, and a weapon disguised as art. Every note carried a truth she had buried, and every word was a mirror waiting to face her. The night of the event, the auditorium was packed. She looked beautiful, radiant even, sitting in the front row, waving proudly as I stepped on stage. Everyone clapped, unaware they were about to witness the most honest performance of my life. I adjusted the microphone, looked out into the crowd, and smiled. "This song," I said, "is about love, lies, and learning the rules of the game." The room went still as the first chords filled the air. My voice was steady, calm, but loaded with weight. The lyrics painted the story clearly. The laughter at that party, the excuses, the secret messages, the nights she thought I didn't notice. People began to exchange glances. The words were too specific, too real. By the second verse, her expression changed. The smile she'd worn so confidently began to fade. Her hands fidgeted in her lap. I could see her whispering to herself, realizing the song wasn't a coincidence. It was her confession, told through melody. When I sang the final verse, the truth hit her like a wave. "You called it just a game, but I learned the rules from you. Now the stage is mine, and the crowd sees through." The room erupted in applause. Everyone stood cheering, while she sat frozen in her seat, pale and trembling. Her co-workers turned toward her, some whispering, some glaring. She stood abruptly, muttering something I couldn't hear, and left the room as quietly as she could. I didn't stop singing. I didn't need to. The performance ended with a standing ovation. Strangers clapped, some even crying, unaware of the private war I'd just ended. I bowed, thanked the audience, and glanced at her now empty seat. Victory didn't feel loud. It felt calm, controlled, the way truth always should. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed out, sitting by the river with my guitar, staring at the reflection of city lights on the water. My revenge hadn't been about humiliation. It had been about reclaiming my voice. She played her game in secret. I played mine in the open. And for the first time in months, I felt free. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comments. The next morning, the internet had already done its job. Clips of my performance spread fast. Fans were sharing it, calling it the most emotional song of the year. But the people who knew us personally didn't just hear music. They heard the truth. Every coworker, every mutual friend, even her manager, they all knew exactly who that song was about. When I woke up, my phone was full of missed calls and messages, half congratulations, half curiosity. But one name stood out, Natalie. She'd called 14 times. Her last text read, "We need to talk. Please, Evan." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That evening, she showed up at my door. No makeup, eyes red, her pride stripped away. Why? She asked softly. Why would you do that? I leaned against the frame, calm. You said it was just a game, I replied. So I played mine. She broke down, tears streaming down her face. It wasn't supposed to go that far, she whispered. It was just a mistake. A mistake? That word again. The same one people use when they get caught, not when they feel guilt. I looked her straight in the eyes. You didn't make a mistake, Natalie. You made choices. Repeatedly, she begged for forgiveness, her voice trembling. I was lonely. You were always busy with your music. I laughed bitterly. So your solution was to destroy the one person who believed in you. She tried to touch my hand, but I stepped back. I can't undo what I've done, she said. But you didn't have to humiliate me. That's when I realized she still didn't get it. She wasn't sorry for betraying me. She was sorry for losing control. I said nothing more. I simply handed her the box I'd packed earlier. Her things, neatly folded, her photos removed from the frames. You should go, I said. You've already taken enough of my time. She left without another word. The sound of the door closing felt like the final note of a song I'd never play again. In the days that followed, people started distancing themselves from her. The co-workers she once impressed avoided her now. Her manager reassigned her projects. Even her friends stopped returning calls. She'd become the cautionary tale in every conversation about betrayal. And me? I didn't gloat. I didn't chase fame or sympathy. I kept performing, one song at a time, each one a step away from the man she broke. They say revenge feels sweet, but this one tasted quiet, steady, like peace earned through patience. She taught me to play games. I just taught her that I play to win. Months passed, and the noise around the performance faded, replaced by something stronger, success. My song went viral, radio stations picked it up, and invitations poured in. Every show I played sold out. Every lyric struck deeper with people who knew betrayal like I did. But for me, it wasn't about fame. It was about freedom. I'd built my revenge quietly, and now it was paying me back louder than her laughter ever had. I'd turned heartbreak into harmony, pain into purpose. The version of me she broke had become the man she could never reach again. One afternoon, I received an unexpected message. It was from Natalie. I saw your video. I'm proud of you, Evan. I miss you. I stared at the screen for a long moment, remembering the woman who once mocked my dreams, who called our love a game. Now she wanted back into a life she'd destroyed. I didn't reply. Some messages deserve silence more than closure. Weeks later, I saw her by chance. She was sitting alone outside the same cafe where we'd shared our first date. Her hair was shorter, her eyes dull. When she noticed me, she froze, then smiled weakly, as if the past hadn't happened. You look happy, she said softly. I nodded. I am. She tried to reach for small talk, but I stopped her. Natalie, I said quietly, you taught me something important. You showed me that love without loyalty is just performance. She lowered her eyes, and for the first time, I saw the weight of regret settle on her face. I made a mistake, she whispered again. I smiled gently, not in anger, but in truth. No, I said. You made a choice, and so did I. Then I turned and walked away, leaving her sitting there with the same emptiness she once gave me. That night, I performed at a sold-out show. The crowd sang along, their voices echoing like a wave of understanding. As the lights dimmed and I played the final chord, I felt something shift inside. Not revenge, not triumph, but release. Because the best revenge isn't ruining someone else's life. It's building a better one after they tried to break yours. Now, when I look back, I don't see pain anymore. I see lessons. I see growth. And I see a man who learned how to play life's cruelest game and win with dignity. The kiss she called just a game had ended the story she thought she controlled. But for me, it became the opening line of a new one. One where I no longer played to please, but to live. This is how my girlfriend betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. And if this story reminded you that peace is the best revenge, hit like, share it with someone who needs strength today, and subscribe for more stories that turn heartbreak into power.